on this page. So we'll just get right to our opening prayers. Taking refuge and generating bodhicitta. Isn't that right, Molly?
All right, Molly.
Once in English, twice in Tibetan. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by listening to teachings and the other paramitas, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. Sangye Jadang Sogye Chodnam La Jangchu Bardu Dagni Kyapsuchi Dagi Jinso Gipe Sonam Ki Rola Penchir Sangye Druparsho Sangye Jadang Soki Chognam La Jangchu Bardu Dagni Kyapsushi Dagi Jinso Gipe Sonam Ki Drola Penchir Sangye Druparsu. The four immeasurable thoughts. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. And then we move on to the top of the next page. And this seven-limb prayer, we're going to be using this prayer to take us through the transforming our karma aspect of this particular session. So as we recite this, you can think about, we're going to be revisiting this a little more closely. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every type of offering, actual and mentally transformed. I declare all my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in the merits of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until samsara ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for sentient beings. I dedicate the merit created by myself and others to the great enlightenment. And finally, the mandala offering. Sangye Jindu Ide Wagi Drogunam Dakshinga Chapashu Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Giryataya. Okay. Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back, you guys.
Yeah, really. It's been what? I don't know. It's been a long time since we last done this. Kavita and I were sick for over 2 weeks. It's
Wow.
crazy. So, and you can still hear it in my voice a little bit of the, I don't know what it was. For a while, I lost.
We found you, Brian, because on our trip, we visited all people who had been vaccinated and nobody was sick at all and hasn't been sick. And the two of us at the last 2 days I was really.
Well, I didn't, so.
Just down Tom on you, because he keeps telling me he's the only unvaccinated guy he knows who hasn't got COVID.
Oh, well, you should
We
go on
didn't
some
get
more
tests,
trips.
but
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Everybody's carrying the virus, but not exhibiting any.
Symptoms.
Yeah. We're strange times. Did anybody see the aurora borealis here? I mean, when does that happen?
I know.
I mean, did you see that there were pictures online from Bernie?
Yep.
Incredible. Bulverde and Stone Oak.
Oh my gosh, I didn't see it.
Two this past weekend, Friday,
Yeah.
Saturday, and I think last night a little bit, but it was
Yeah.
overcast.
Yeah, it was. And my cousin in North Carolina in the Charlotte area posted Facebook photos
Yeah.
of her area and the skies in her area.
I don't even know I don't know when was the last time that ever happened.
Recording in progress. Not here, not that I'm aware of.
Yeah. So, and that what they're saying is that this solar flares or something
Oh.
that's causing it. But we are in a very interesting time right now because we are. Many of you know, if you remember back in the '60s, it was the dawning of the age of Aquarius.
Yes.
And this has to do with the precession of the equinox. It's every 2000 something years or so.
Mhm.
The whole cosmic system sort of shifts and change, and we are in the age of Aquarius. We entered it a couple of years ago, and also according to the Hindu cosmology, we're in the what they call the Kali Yuga. It's another age where things are shifting. The first years, say, of this shift of the ages is a huge amount of upheaval that occurs.
Yeah.
And you can't say we're not witnessing that.
Right.
And so what's happening on a cosmic level is that there's a center to the galaxy, and there is some energy that is always emanating from the center of the galaxy out. And for instance, our planet, say the center is like here, the planets rotate,
Yeah.
the galaxy rotates, but as it rotates, it does this kind of thing. It goes almost like a very, very slow sine wave. And in one of these sine waves, you'll have these ages that occur. So what happens is where the curve now.
Yugas is what they call it in Sanskrit.
Yeah, yugas in Sanskrit. What's happening now is we're now on the downturn of the sine wave, which means that the cosmic energy from the center of the galaxy is hitting our planet more than it was before.
Right.
And this is what happens in the change of an age. Right now, we're at the very beginning of it, which means there's, like I said, it's a huge amount of upheaval. It's like when you move. When we move, we have to take all of our furniture out. We have to throw away what we're not going to keep. It's a big, big thing to move. It's part of it is, I wouldn't say it's traumatic, but it can be, and it can be pretty upsetting. And this is like what's happening now. We are moving. We are changing. There's a lot of upheaval. There are a lot of things that are going to be discarded and thrown away. But in the process of that, there's going to be huge tension as to, I don't want to throw this away. I don't want to let go of a particular view.
Right.
And we're moving into a new view.
Right.
It's a new age. Buddhism talks about this as well. Yeah, go ahead.
We're leaving the Kali Yuga and entering, I don't know what it's called, but
Yeah.
if you want to read more about it,
Yeah.
you can look into the Hindu science about the yugas, YUGA.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can also find things online.
It's very interesting.
You can find scientific things online about the galaxy itself and how the planets are, the way they're rotating around the center of the galaxy and the energy that's coming from the galactic center and hitting our solar system, hitting the sun.
Right.
So I expect to see more aurora borealises or something.
Wow,
Weird
right?
stuff.
Like weird stuff.
Weird stuff for at least for the next couple of decades, I would say,
Yeah.
until things.
Yeah, if you get into
So-
it, it's interesting.
Yeah.
How it
What-
affects our magnetosphere and stuff.
Related to the fact that we're coming into a new age, there's a lot of new information that is now sort of surfacing. And this new age, the age of Aquarius is the age of knowledge.
Oh.
You know, it's the age of, in particular, self-knowledge. So this is where we're kind of headed, which is a good thing. It's a,
Has
I mean,
Ryan seen this book?
so I want
Or
to
this
talk, I
guy?
want
What's
to
his name?
mention this book. The guy's name is Christoph Koch. All right, here's a-
He's examining
there's
so
a
many
picture of
questions you
him.
have about AI and consciousness.
He is a neuroscientist, born in the United States, but raised in Germany and in Europe and Morocco. So when he speaks, he has a German accent, but he has full command of the English language. He writes very clearly. I mean, it's basically an easy read, except there are a number of big words that you've never heard of. So you need to have your
It's a
little,
word.
you have to have your pocket dictionary by your side as you read it.
It's a
This
short
book-
little words, too.
This book was just released last week.
Oh, wow.
I ordered it, I pre-ordered it and it came, and it's called Then I Am Myself the World. Then I Am Myself the World by Christoph Koch.
It's not Buddhist, but
It's not Buddhist, but let me read you what the conclusions that he has come to. And Brian, I mean, he opens the book up talking about taking LSD, or not LSD, going down to a foreign country, taking some kind of hallucinogenic drug, and the experience of what happened to his consciousness really opened his mind to what consciousness is capable of and what the possibilities are. So I just will read you the dedication of this book. It's a fascinating book, and I'm recommending it because I think it aids in our Buddhist studies. It aids in our studies of the mind and consciousness, because he goes into a really fascinating detail, much more detailed than we're going to find, or that I have found so far in the
areas
Buddhist
of detail.
scriptures. Different areas of details of how consciousness exists within our body, how it is, it's similar to the way Buddhism talks about the brain. He says the consciousness is not the brain. It is not of the brain. It is working in the brain. It's a, he's developing his theories of all of this along with his colleagues. And so this is a very exciting time for the study of consciousness. Here's his, the conclusion that he's come to, and I will read his dedication because his dedication was so, it was so Buddhist. I couldn't believe it. Here's the dedication. To all fellow travelers on the river of time who howl, bark, cry, screech, whine, bellow, chirp, shriek, buzz, sing, speak, or without a voice. For it is only in compassion with all life that we can redeem ourselves. And that's coming from a neuroscientist.
Right.
Who's been studying consciousness now for since the late 80s. You know, and he's one of the top neuroscientists in the field. There's another I think it's called, his name is David Chalmers. There are a few others that rise to the top, but he is one of them. And let me read you one of the reviews for the book, which is kind of what made me go, oh, I think I want to buy this. Then I Am Myself the World is the new record of note for the scientific understanding of consciousness. This is an elegant tableau, a travelogue of subjective experience, grounded in the latest neuroscience and philosophy, traversing religion, science, and a life dedicated to the biggest questions. Filled with crystalline prose, lucid explanation, and revelatory honesty, this book will continue to be read centuries from now. Which I thought, wow, what a review that is. And all the reviews that I've read are similar. So I've mentioned Christoph Koch before because I found things online that he had written that really corresponded to the Buddhist view of consciousness. So I just thought I would mention that. Feel free to read it. I think it will be helpful. He doesn't agree with everything in Buddhism, but he has had an audience with the Dalai Lama. He mentions it. Okay, so now we're into.
But he hasn't yet said what they talked about.
Right.
Not really. Yeah, I'm only in chapter 5. We're reading it in bed. Kavita's falling asleep while I'm reading,
Right.
but not all the time.
It goes deeply into my subconscious mind now.
That's right, that's your tactic.
Yeah. So what we're going to discuss today, of course, has everything to do with consciousness, and it is a continuation of the. If you were to practice the refuge visualization as part of a longer set of practices that is talked about traditionally in Mahayana Buddhism, called the preparatory practices, you would go directly from, if you remember, there was at the end of the refuge visualization, there was a meditation on emptiness where you imagined that your clear light consciousness, which was one with the Buddha, went down to your heart chakra, and then you were in the center of this Manjushri lotus, and it was a meditation on the meaning of each of those syllables, which is kind of trippy when you actually get into it. We were listening actually in the car driving, our back to the airport through the Valley of California, and we got to this meditation, and I was sort of like almost a little out of body driving the car, and I felt like there's just the road was just coming at me, but I was in some kind of other state. It was really weird. Anyway, so from this state of meditation on emptiness, then we go into this next set of practices, which includes that 7 limb prayer that we were reading at the beginning. So this, I put this all down last night into words, and it's similar to it's like a.
Yeah.
Not yet, thanks. It's similar to a guided meditation. So I will read it. And I want to talk a little bit about meditation, and these actually are meditations. In Tibetan, the word for meditation is gom, and what that word means is to familiarize your mind with something. So meditation is, so when they're talking about gompa, the place where you meditate, is the place where you are familiarizing your mind with the Dharma, basically. You're familiarizing your mind with how things actually exist, how they work, how karma functions. So this next set of meditations is about how karma functions and what we can do to transform it. So here we're going. So imagine that, if you practice that refuge visualization at all, just imagine that you're back there at your heart, at your heart chakra, as just luminous awareness. Imagine that the object of your luminous awareness is now limitless, blissful, clear space that surrounds you in every direction. Like a reflection of your mind that is projected into the limitless space of bliss and emptiness. Imagine you are now standing in a gorgeous green meadow that sparkles like jewels all around you. Now, I've taken this image from Genlam Rinpa. And what I love about Genlam Rinpa is that he will take the traditional Buddhist practices and he will remove all of the extraneous things that can make it very confusing to try to visualize, to try and get a grasp of all of it. And he just goes down to the essential points, which I love. I feel a very strong connection with Genlam Rinpa. Geshe Dragpa knew him. He and Geshe Dragpa were friends. They both were meditating on the side of the mountain high above Dharamsala at the same time, and they knew one another, and they would talk with one another. So in a way, I feel like Genlam Rinpa is part of our lineage. He's definitely connected, and when I read his things, I just feel a very strong connection. So these images that I'm putting in here are based on his sort of pared down version of what can be quite complex and filled with detail and overwhelming for our minds.
Yeah.
So imagine you are now standing in a gorgeous green meadow that sparkles like jewels all around you. In the sky before you, Buddha Shakyamuni appears seated at the center of a lotus flower. Both the Buddha and lotus appear in a similar way to how a brilliant rainbow appears in the sky. So it is, it's definitely bright color that you can see, but you can see through it. It's translucent. It's not like something you can grasp and hold on to. This is a very important aspect of the nature of reality itself. When scientists, quantum physics, they get down to the tiniest particles, they will find that they emanate light like a prism. They emanate these stainless colors of light. And in Buddhism, it talks about this all the time, these stainless colors.
Yeah.
So the Buddha is made, the Buddha and the lotus, and everything that appears in this visualization in the sky is made of this kind of rainbow-like light. Stretching out on either side of you, imagine yourself at various stages in your life, from your earliest memory of childhood up to the present. Stretching out behind you and your present life. So you have a row of you in your present life, this, standing in the sparkling grass, looking up at the sky, seeing the Buddha in a lotus. Stretching out behind you and your present life, imagine all of your beginningless past lives. These countless lifetimes, along with your present lifetime, represent your entire continuum of conscious experience. So what we are visualizing in a kind of form, is our entire continuum of consciousness since beginningless time. This is what you and all of these multiples of your past lifetimes is representing, the continuum, your continuum of consciousness. Rainbow-like beams of light in 5 stainless colors. All right, Kavita, this is where we want to put up there's a classic image of what I'm about to describe, which has a lot more detail in it. But I want you to basically look at the main sections of this. So this is what would be a facsimile of this,
Right.
is what would be appearing to, as you're imagining you're in the field and you're looking at the sky. This is what I'm about to describe.
Notice the rainbow
Right.
That's
light.
right, the rainbow light.
indication of.
Yeah. All right, so here's a pared down explanation of this. Rainbow-like beams of light in 5 stainless colors, like bands of colored light that emanate from a prism, extend out in groups from Buddha Shakyamuni, who is at the center. One group of 5 stainless colors goes out to his left, one group to his right, one group above him, and one group below him. The group of light beams to his right gently curves up to support billowing clouds upon which are seated highly realized beings, representing the lineage of extensive deeds, or the compassion way.
I just want to point out, here's Buddha in the middle of Tsongkhapa's heart. Just
Yeah, they use Tsongkhapa in this visualization.
this is Sporgalugpa's Tsongkhapa.
Yeah, and I'm using Buddha
Here's the
Shakyamuni.
representation of Buddha, in case you wondered where Buddha was.
Yeah. The group of light beams to the Buddha's left gently curves up to support billowing clouds upon which are seated highly realized beings, representing the lineage of the profound view, or the wisdom wing. The group of light beams rising above and slightly behind Shakyamuni support a pillar of billowing clouds, upon which are seated highly realized beings, representing the lineage of consecrated practices, or Vajrayana, Tantrayana, Mantrayana. The group of light beams below and slightly in front of Shakyamuni Buddha, which in this picture, you actually can't see the beams because the beams have sort of gone down and then they've supported this if you look closely, you can see those are around the edges, those are clouds. But there's a
Oh,
whole
okay.
bunch of
The pink-
beings on there.
Yeah, the pink
Clouds.
clouds. Pink
Yeah, yeah.
clouds, got it.
So the group of light beams below and slightly in front of Buddha Shakyamuni support billowing clouds upon which are seated, and this is for our visualization,
Mhm.
upon which are seated His Holiness the Dalai Lama and all of your gurus and spiritual teachers, tantric deities, bodhisattvas, and dharma protectors.
So you can see like right here at the top, this is His Holiness the Dalai Lama
Mhm.
under that rainbow just below the main figure.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So, and of course,
top is that all the multi-legged and armed tantrics.
yeah, there's tantric, and then
Right.
there's bodhisattvas, then there's dharma
Bodhisattvas.
protectors, you know, down at the bottom.
Mhm.
This corresponds, if you recall, in the refuge visualization, and everything was on a platform, and you had these
Yeah.
5 thrones. Well, you had coming out from the Buddha on the left, the right, behind, and in front, these same lineages.
Right.
Right now,
Absolutely.
they're in the sky.
Right.
So the other thing that I always like to remind myself and others is, so if you look at this like left cloud or,
Oh, you're looking at the empty chair?
this empty chair is
Yeah.
for you,
That's for you.
and over
represents-
here, same thing, so, you know,
That's our seat.
yeah.
That's our seat. As a bodhisattvas, eventually, you know, we will have seats there,
And I'll
You know,
stick this in the chat.
metaphorically.
this Image in the chat for
Um,
anybody who might want.
Is this on the web, this picture on the website?
You know what? I'll put a link to it right in this,
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
and then we'll be part of the links that I put in all the
I
emails.
have noticed in the 20, what, it's almost 20 years now. This image has become very increasingly important to me personally,
Yeah.
because I think of it. You could summarize, as is the case in one of the refuge prayers that our lineage does, you can summarize all of Buddhism in that phrase, do no harm,
Mhm.
and when you can, help. And when you think about it, just if you strip down all of the bells and whistles and you just strip it down to, wow, here's a group of practitioners. So this image represents a collective effort to, as perfectly as possible and ultimately completely perfectly, do no harm and do, help others. And to do it perfectly, it's like, wow, that's such a wonderful group to be a
Right.
part of.
Right.
Why would I fight that?
It's very, very positive energy.
Anyway, I just thought I'd
Yeah.
mention that. But yeah, I'll
So this image here is what constitutes what is known as the merit field. And this is a fertile field of positive, enlightened energy where we can nurture and grow the seeds of our positive potential. So it's a metaphor. It's really a energy field that we're talking about. When we're talking about this merit field, or merit means positive potential, you know, the field of positive potential where we can grow our positive potential with by putting seeds into this. From here on, now we follow along with the lines of the 7-limb prayer, which we said at the beginning of
Right.
the class. So here's the first line. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. So here what we do is you imagine yourself, all the parts of yourself from this lifetime, and all of the aspects of yourself that go back to beginningless time. Imagine that with reverence, gratitude, and joy, your entire beginningless continuum of consciousness prostrates 3 times before the enlightened and highly realized beings in this merit field before you. And then we go to the second line of the prayer. And I present clouds of every type of offering, actual and mentally transformed. So here what you imagine is that you and your entire beginningless continuum offer oceans of blissful experiences, wave after wave, sending them all to the enlightened and holy beings in the sky. Mentally, transform these offerings, whatever they are for you, into clouds of shining positive energy. Imbue this pure energy with the four most meaningful and supreme offerings that can be made. So this is the important part here. These are the actual offerings.
Mhm.
You offer your intention to uphold the Dharma, to put your Dharma studies into practice, and to develop and grow the virtues that have taken root in you through your Dharma practice. These are called root virtues. So through your practice, the aspects of the Dharma or understandings of the Dharma
Mhm.
will take root in you. These are called root virtues. So you are making an offering that's saying, and you're saying, I will develop and grow the virtues that have taken root in me through my Dharma practice. And then the fourth one is to develop your bodhicitta, the altruistic intention and engagement to become enlightened for the benefit of all sentient beings. There are no greater offerings we could make to the enlightened beings and these realized beings and our spiritual teachers and gurus than these offerings. This is what matters.
Right.
It doesn't matter that you're, offering mountains and oceans and universes. That's fine. If it triggers a kind of emotional feeling in you of wonder and goodness and awe, and you want to give these things, that's what's important, is the feeling you have.
Mhm.
But remember these four offerings. They're the most important thing about this particular practice right here. All right, now we go into the actual purification practice of transforming our karma. And this is the third line of the 7-limb prayer. I declare all my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time.
Mhm.
And of course, this is all represented by all these parts of yourself that are
That guy up there and
that all
there.
all those guys back there. Had nothing to do with me.
Yeah, where do you think they did?
But also, if you think of your lifetime and
Yeah.
various times in your life, it all sort of bubbles up and you go, phew, gee, wow. I got a little work to do here.
Exactly.
So what we do here is we purify our mental continuum and the subtle energies of the negative karmic imprints that we have been carrying with us because of past negative actions. So even though you got all these beings that represent your past lives, beginning of past lives, and they're behind you, what it's actually saying is this is all imprinted on your mind stream right now.
Mhm.
It's all there right now. So what we're trying to do is remove any of the negative ones and grow the positive ones, increase the positive ones. Obviously, we have positive ones. We wouldn't be even talking about this
Yeah.
and sitting here as human beings if we didn't.
Right.
So that's something to rejoice about.
Mhm.
So the way we do this is through the application of what are called the 4 opponent powers: regret, reliance, remedy, and resolve.
Right.
Venerable Robina calls these the 4 ahs.
Yeah.
The 4 ahs: regret, reliance, remedy, resolve. That's an easy way to remember them. And that's how I learned to remember them, was from her.
Mhm.
I mean, she's a wonderful teacher.
Yeah.
So now we start with regret. With the first opponent power, we regret our past actions of body, speech, and mind that have caused harm to ourselves and to others. These actions have arisen because of our own personal decisions, reactions, and judgments about everything based on our own personal biases, rooted in our own personal feelings of attachment and aversion that have arisen from our own personal sense of lack and neediness due to our own primordial ego grasping, which has arisen due to ignorance of the actual nature of self and phenomena. That's the problem.
Yeah.
If you trace it back,
Right there.
and then if you trace that all forward, because of all these personal, individual attachments and aversions that we have, we generate negative emotions, grasping desire, clinging, wanting to hold, and doing things that are not necessarily virtuous to get that thing we want. Or if we have aversion towards something, we lash out, we attack, and we create negative karma that way. And this is all arising out of the ignorance of the way self and phenomena exist, which causes the ego to arise, which is the root of samsara.
Mhm.
And all of this samsaric experience comes out of that. And this is what we are trying to now begin to purify within ourselves. So the next opponent power, I now think of them as just the R's.
Yeah.
The next opponent power is reliance. With the second opponent power, we rely upon the three jewels, the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and also upon sentient beings. So there are two things we rely on here, three jewels and all sentient beings.
Mhm.
Through the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we learn how to develop the understanding and wisdom we need to traverse the pathways of consciousness that lead to enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And through our interaction with sentient beings, we learn how to develop stable love and compassion, patience, enthusiasm, and our bodhicitta. None of this can be done in a vacuum. It has to be done in relation to our interactions and relationships with other sentient beings, humans and non-human.
Mhm.
So they are, this is why when I would talk about the image of Shakyamuni Buddha, and the kind of a central aspect of this image is he's holding this begging bowl, and it's filled with dharma, but the act of begging is relying on others. And so what the image of the Buddha Shakyamuni, the symbolism there is, not only has he relied on the dharma realizations, but in order to attain enlightenment, you must rely on other sentient beings. You must,
Yeah.
because enlightenment, the whole purpose of enlightenment is for the benefit of sentient beings. If you're not doing it for the benefit of sentient beings, it is not enlightenment. So this reliance, these two reliances are extremely important to keep in mind. Because what that will do over time, if you keep that, at front and center in your mind, you will begin to change the way you view and interact with other sentient beings. You're going to see that, whoa, these beings are important to me. These beings, I'm going to learn how to become compassionate and loving and patient and generous and enthusiastic about helping through my interactions with these other beings. They're important to me. They're important to the whole path that I'm on. Now we go to remedy. This is the third opponent power. The remedy is to purify our negative karma and engage in positive karma. In particular, we engage in the 10 virtuous actions of body, speech, and mind, which the Buddha instructed us to uphold, and we purify all of the 10 non-virtuous actions which we have done. So one of the ways to do this purification process is in conjunction with the Vajrasattva mantra. This is right here is why I spent so much time at the beginning going through these various mantras, and in particular the Vajrasattva mantra. And we had to have that a little bit of time before we get to this, because we had to become somewhat familiar with this Vajrasattva mantra, even mouthing the syllables, because at first it's just gobbledygook.
Do you want it up?
Yeah, so go ahead and you can put this up. I'll put it up again. As I've said before, and I'm sure as Brian can attest to, and probably, I don't know if you've memorized this yet, but to memorize this is extremely helpful.
Yeah, it's helpful.
It's extremely helpful.
Haven't gotten that.
And to look at the,
Hold on a second.
that's okay. And to look at the translation that I included underneath the lines is not the original translation I think some of us had. It comes from Alexander Berzin. And even his translation, I adjusted a little bit based on my knowledge and using words that would make sense to us when Alexander Berzin is extremely intelligent, he's
Right.
Harvard, I mean, he's brilliant. And what happens with brilliant people, and I admire it, but sometimes when they try to explain things, it gets so you get so lost in the words, you don't, it's sort of like reading some of the Dharma,
Right,
like,
you
what are you saying?
Yeah,
And even when I try to pare it down, and it's still, if we don't study it,
right,
it's it's hard to understand because you have to use some kind of words to explain this.
right.
So there it is. I have taken this translation of Alexander Berzin, which I had modified, and I have now made I've paraphrased it.
Mhm.
Because I studied this a lot and looked at it, and I realized, holy cow, there are things embedded in here that I never realized were embedded. For instance, the four immeasurables are in here,
Mm,
but I didn't realize that's what it was. So all of the lines that say that have me bawa following them. So you have
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yuridro me bawa, Suto Kyoyo me bawa, Supo Kyoyo me bawa, Anorakta me bawa. This is talking about the four immeasurables. So let me read this paraphrase and see if you can get a grasp of what this mantra is talking about and why it's a purification practice. The pure essence of my eternal reality is the fundamental clear light mind of
Hold
diamond.
on. I asked you, this is not.
No, this paraphrase is nowhere but here. I did it last night.
Oh, don't look at this.
So I just explained, this is a translation that
right.
I made from Alexander Berzin's translation, which I kind of edited.
So there's
And I have now,
Yeah.
after studying this, no, it's not
It's not,
useless.
'cause it's
Okay,
gotta be
okay,
good,
okay.
it's good.
Sorry.
After studying this closely, I realized, wow, there are things in here that I hadn't realized before, which are important to bring out
Right,
for us to understand.
right,
So here, I'll go back. This is just a paraphrase. You're not going to see it on the screen.
right,
You'll see it later on.
right, and it.
The pure essence of my eternal reality is the fundamental clear light mind of diamond-like indestructible Buddha nature, Vajrasattva, what it
Mhm.
represents. This Buddha nature is the assurance and support for my innate capacity to purify and transform. Now, the word that they will use is samaya, which means a pledge. A pledge. It's like Vajrasattva is making a pledge to you. What it actually is that your own Buddha nature is the assurance and support that you have. It is the pledge. If you want to say it's a pledge,
Mhm.
it is the assurance that you have that you will be able, that you have this innate capacity to purify and transform into a Buddha.
We have the ability to.
We have the ability. It's because of our Buddha nature.
Right.
That's the samaya, that's the pledge, that's the assurance that we have.
Mhm.
May the qualities of the diamond-like Buddha nature residing in me always remain close to my awareness. And now here we go into the immeasurables. May my immeasurable equanimity
Mhm.
be accomplished through eliminating my negative karma. Now, why is that? Why would we accomplish equanimity through eliminating our negative karma? Any responses? Logical responses? Just think about it.
Well, as you develop, like your patience and all of that, you have to go through shifting processes, and then you start like an onion peeling back. Oh, wow, I was really judgmental. So you get rid of judgment, you get rid of your ignorance, you become more aware and then more observant of your own behavior, and therefore continuing to purify and
Right.
continue, and you just.
Right.
And then as you go on that journey, you just keep going deeper and deeper
Right.
and deeper.
And you develop this equanimity.
Right,
And it will get to, immeasurable equanimity
Right.
eventually.
yeah,
Because of eliminating all of these negative, these things that disturb our mind about others,
right,
how can we have equanimity? We can't. I mean, you mentioned Trump to somebody, well, the equanimity's out the window. Or the same, you mentioned Biden to somebody, equanimity out the window.
right.
We have to,
Suffer with that.
our path is to move beyond that.
Right,
Uh, and to recognize the nature of our consciousness and what's going on, what we're actually doing. It's all happening inside our consciousness,
Right,
not out there. I mean, okay.
yeah.
So may my immeasurable equanimity be accomplished through eliminating my negative karma. Here's the next one. My immeasurable love be accomplished through attaining the happiness of liberation. What is the cause of liberation? We've talked about it many times.
Well,
What causes us to be liberated from cyclic existence?
a realization of emptiness,
Mhm.
a direct realization of emptiness.
Combined with,
No, liberation is a direct
a
realization.
but why do you have,
With wisdom.
but why do you have a direct realization of emptiness? As a Mahayana practitioner,
Oh,
Well, now,
as a Mahayana practitioner, this is a Mahayana practice.
I understand, but even in the Mahayana practice, I'm not sure where you're going, but liberation is merely the release from cyclic existence, whereas enlightenment has the bodhicitta part.
What is renunciation?
hmm,
When we renounce samsara, what is that about?
Self-compassion.
Love for yourself.
Mhm.
Love. May my immeasurable love be accomplished through attaining liberation.
mhm,
We're talking about our immeasurable equanimity, our immeasurable love
mhm,
being accomplished. Our experience of that.
Mhm.
All right, does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
just want to point out, going one level deeper, that renunciation comes about. So renunciation is said to be self-compassion, but it comes about through being sick and tired of suffering.
Right.
I just want to add that.
Yeah.
layer.
And the reason, because we're sick and tired of suffering, and we're going, I love myself, I have compassion for myself. I don't want to just go down the tubes with this suffering. I need to do something about it. That's why all of us have turned to Buddhism and
right,
are on this path. We're thinking there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a way that I can actually, achieve some kind of happiness in this life. And we may not come to it thinking it's going to include everybody else,
right,
but we at least come to it thinking something's wrong.
right,
right.
right.
So may my immeasurable love, and we're talking my immeasurable love, yeah, be accomplished through attaining the happiness of liberation. My immeasurable joy be accomplished through attaining enlightenment that is forever free of suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the joy that an enlightened being would have is forever free of suffering. So even though a Buddha can recognize with compassion that beings are suffering and need help, a Buddha, an enlightened mind themselves, never succumbs to the suffering,
Right.
never is anything but joyous, knowing and understanding that this is possible.
Right.
This can be done, no matter how long it takes. It doesn't matter, because time itself is kind of illusory.
Mhm.
And so there is this immeasurable joy that one would have upon attaining complete enlightenment. And then the last one, may my immeasurable compassion be accomplished through the clear light awareness of emptiness. So why would that be? Any ideas? Why would an understanding of emptiness bring about immeasurable compassion in you?
Well, you understand the nature of reality. When you've had the experience of emptiness, you understand the nature of reality does not exist in the way we may
Right.
have thought it did.
Actually,
You're all interdependent.
right, interdependent, and that there is a non-dual aspect to
Right.
this.
Or, yeah.
And so when you realize, I'm not there, but if you project into that idea, this possibility, if you realized everything actually was non-dual, you have a sense that, wow, there's nothing but compassion is what I want to feel for anything, any projection I'm making in my mind that looks like there's suffering going. I don't want to destroy it. I don't want to blame. I don't want to harm. I want to have compassion and find a way to help.
Mhm.
That would be how this is born in you.
You maybe I remember this incorrectly. But I had a conversation with Geshe even years ago when we first met about some of the structure of the monks, students, et cetera, at the monasteries. And, you know, he's in the lineage of obviously scholarly and learned individuals, but there are people who aren't scholarly and can't learn. And
Yeah.
I said, well, what do you know, well, we let them do the manual labor stuff around the monastery.
Yeah,
Do the pantaka and the sweeper,
They
yeah.
sweep, yeah.
And my impression was that, you know, even though they were trying as best they could, somebody made a judgment that they weren't cut out to be on the path of
Hmm.
attaining enlightenment or learning or whatever you want to call it.
Right,
Uh,
like all of us, like I'm on the path, but I'm.
You know, a lot of this in theory is really nice, but I struggle with the reality of the situation. I mean, yes, I can see you're suffering. I don't want you to suffer.
Mm.
But you know, but you know, at some point,
I don't understand.
I'm not a Buddha, I'm not a Bodhisattva, so I don't know exactly what to do to be helpful and not harmful, but you know, I might just not intervene because intervening might hurt or might
Well,
help.
That's true.
exactly, and
That's true.
it's exactly what you would do.
I mean, we have to start where we're at. I mean, if we're
Yeah.
not omniscient, we could definitely do damage to somebody and trying to help them.
Brian, is your, I mean, this is a question. So in your recounting the fact that not all the monks are being trapped into this intellectual didactic discussion of how things exist. Is that, what are you trying to illuminate there by pointing out that they have?
Well, I
Maybe
guess
you can take the that off the screen.
I guess the thought I was having was that even within the, you know, monks and geshes and all those kinds of things, there's still a class structure. And in my conversation with Geshe Jinpa at the time, it just struck me that, well, you know, maybe in another life they'll make it a little further along, and so they're a little behind the current
yeah.
ones. But you know, it's almost like, well, we get to study and learn, and somebody has to do the day-to-day, like KP duty in the military, you know, day-to-day stuff to keep us all going.
Yeah,
But they also had to do it when they were boys themselves.
everybody
lot.
had to do it, I think, in the monastery. But
Yeah, I mean, that's
And
interesting.
they
It
could
seems-
be gaining
And
benefit
I guess
by
this-
just
this-
doing
this-
their, you know,
well, again-
sleeping and meditating, and we've heard
Whoever-
stories, you know.
My take would be to every phase, you know, sort of like the metaphor that's often used. I'm gonna tell you how to get to New York City,
Mhm.
but I can see that if I tell you the whole way right now, you won't get there. So first I tell you how to get to Houston. And then once you're in Houston, I tell you how to get to
The next
Yeah,
one.
that makes sense.
wherever,
Also, I remember
and so forth. I wonder if it's, I mean,
Yeah, I'm not,
the reason I actually asked is, in the event that the thinking was that they're not following their own beliefs by identifying some people as unworthy of study,
it's,
I would debate that especially knowing Geshe Nina, but our own monks as well, our other older monks, is that to me, they always talk about the long view, and so if that person isn't ready to get the full instructions of how to get to New York City, they're gonna let them, you know, and you would know better because you're in the classroom and have been trying to teach individuals. Needless to say, the majority of your students are pretty intellectual. They wouldn't have landed in the institutions you're in, but you know, some have more capacity at this time in their development. Anyway, I just, the reason I,
So it's not a class choice, it's just, this is where this individual might be on the path.
I guess in uh, my own thinking, maybe,
Right.
my own place, again. Somehow understanding all this stuff is supposed to allow you to, not have any defilements, not have any, issues, not have any.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Eventually.
But all we're doing now is learning about it. I mean, we still have
Right.
our defilements, for God's sake.
Yeah. We're not Buddha yet. We're not
No way.
Bodhisattva yet.
something that, I actually recently reread something that I first read 12 years ago, which was the introduction to this book about Kala Chakra. And when, in like 2 sentences, they defined Buddha nature, which your question, actually, what you just said, your most recent statement, touches upon whether or not there's such a thing as Buddha nature. Is this seed or this potential actually residing, and supposedly if we do these things, will that evolve into a completely manifested fact? And I found the reading of this the way that Buddha nature was defined in these 2 sentences extremely condensed and to the point, which was Buddha nature is the fact that your consciousness is empty of inherent existence, and therefore is capable of eliminating the purifying, getting rid of negative tendencies. And it made the statement that you could get rid of negative tendencies forever, and till they're all gone, but the positive tendencies of love and compassion don't go away because they're at the base essence of conscious awareness. It sort of paired those 2 things, so it's not like we have some already perfected Buddha hidden inside of us, but the fact that our consciousness is empty of inherent existence is why is Buddha nature.
The fact that we can change is
I mean,
Buddha nature.
That I think almost all of us, and I can't speak for you, but almost all of us leap ahead. We hear Buddha nature, or it sounds like a thing, which we tend to concretize everything, so we concretize Buddha nature. It's like, oh, I must have a little Buddha hidden inside me that.
That's what everybody thinks. It's not, and it doesn't, I mean, and the image of Vajrasattva would make you think that, but it's symbolic of what we are headed
The
toward.
potential
The
that we
potential.
have.
The fact that we can change is what Buddha nature is. And the fact that love and compassion and all these good qualities would remain is a fact of wholesome interdependence rather than psychotic interdependence, which is what is going on to a large degree right now.
Right.
Confused, mixed up, psychotic, sick, a
Mhm.
sick view of interdependence where you're destroying things that you don't like to get out of the way, and it doesn't work.
No.
It just causes suffering. It goes back to the very first teachings of the game.
So how does all this wrap back into the Vajrasattva model?
Well, let's go back to it, all right? So we talked to the, because what we're doing, the Vajrasattva, there's not some separate being purifying us. It's our own mind that is doing the purification. That's the important thing to remember here. When it's talking about I will gain immeasurable love. I will gain immeasurable compassion. I will do this. I'm the one doing it. Nobody is projecting, making it happen to me. The fact there's help for sure. There's help from the enlightened beings and our teachers and all of this, the Dharma.
Right.
It's up to us though to use it to practice. I remember the 4 most important offerings you can make: to uphold the Dharma, to put your Dharma studies into practice, to grow your root virtues through your Dharma practice, and to develop your bodhicitta.
Mhm.
This is the most important thing we can be doing, which is why practice is another way of saying familiarizing, which is another way of saying meditation.
Mhm.
Meditation is familiarizing yourself with something. So when Shaquille O'Neal was as a kid practicing getting the ball in the hoop, he was meditating. He was
Mhm.
familiarizing himself with something, and he got better and better and better at it. This is exactly what we can do as bodhisattvas. We learn these techniques. We learn that we begin to understand the nature of what the Dharma is talking about. We put it into practice, meaning we familiarize ourselves regularly with it, and it becomes part of who we are, part of the way we think, part of the way we then project out and view everything. And that changes everything for us.
Right.
Not only does it change us, but it changes our relationships with others
Mhm.
and with the world. And that's what Buddha nature will do. The ability to change in a wholesome way that supports interdependence in a wholesome way, rather than the psychotic way of the ego.
Mhm.
And that's what I'd say about these practices. You know, practices means familiarize yourself, means meditation. You know, we think it means,
Okay, get
I
back
don't
to
know.
Vajrasattva.
Yeah, all right, get back to Vajrasattva. So we've gone through these immeasurable, four immeasurables.
Mhm. That were in, that you surmised.
That I have
Paraphrase,
paraphrased, that I
yeah.
saw in there. Like there
Yep.
was one day where I went, oh, all these Mei-Ba-Wa things, there, when I look at what's
Okay.
the translation, okay. So now, okay. So now the next thing it says, may all spiritual power in me be gained. May I gain through these practices the what they call siddhis, these high spiritual powers that you can develop. May all karmic actions be excellent in me. May my supreme mind arise through the true nature of my consciousness, which is clear and aware, and as we also said, is impermanent. It can changes. It changes from moment to moment. This is very, very important that we can change. And may my supreme mind arise through the 5 pathways of consciousness that lead to enlightenment. This is the ha. This is the path of accumulation, path of preparation, path of seeing, path of meditation, path of no more learning, which we've talked about in the past. We will not talk about here. Then the last couple of lines. O Buddha, and all the ones thus gone, all the other Buddhas who have gone to Buddhahood, who have realized their indestructible Buddha nature, do not let me lose the clear light awareness of emptiness, dependent arising. O great diamond being, this is Buddha nature again, in union with your luminous body, speech, and mind, and they're talking about the image of Vajrasattva, may the delusions and sufferings of my body, speech, and mind be purified and stabilized. That's the Ahung Pe, purified and stabilized. So that's just a paraphrase to help us think more in a less magical way about this, and more in terms of it is my mind that is transforming through this process, and
Right.
I'm the one who's working on this, and making it happen for me. It's no other being has the power to remove all of my karma for me. I'm the one who has to do it. And that's the kind of point I want to make. So now we get to the practice of Shakpa. In Tibetan, this purification process is called Shakpa, which means to change direction. Again, change. We can change. We can change the direction we've been going in. And we have been, obviously. We are changing the direction of our actions from destructive to beneficial. And this is how it can be done in conjunction with reciting the Vajrasattva mantra. So this will be very familiar to us because we have talked about this a lot. Vajrasattva emerges now from the heart of Buddha Shakyamuni, because everything comes from the heart of the Buddha. I mean, it's all in there. Everything that was in the merit field came out of the Buddha's heart. Vajrasattva emerges from the heart of Shakyamuni Buddha in the merit field and comes to the crown of your head, taking the form of a brilliant ball of white light, as we talked about before. Duplicate Vajrasattvas also appear on the crown of all of the beings that are on either side of you and all the ones behind you. So all of your mental continuum has Vajrasattva going on. Okay, so you're imagining that this is happening for your entire continuum of consciousness. And remember, consciousness is not just up here. Consciousness is everywhere throughout your body. So when we're doing this practice of the light moving from the base of our body and going up, it's going through all these levels of consciousness that exist in our cells, that exist in our nervous system, exist in our joints and bones, and then we have the subtle energies, the chakras and the channels and the winds. All of that is being purified through this practice. This book again, the Christoph Koch book, Then I Am Myself, the World, he goes into a lot of detail about the way consciousness exists throughout your entire body. I mean, he goes into the joints and things like that. It really is helpful to read this because it really is a complement
So
to
would
the
he-
Buddhist
would he
practices,
argue that
studies.
doing psychedelics makes you a better Buddhist?
He doesn't suggest doing it because he said that it was like dying. It was an extremely fearful experience. At the same time, it was an amazing experience. And he doesn't suggest, he's not saying go out and do this, but he is saying they are finding that under controlled usage, it can be very helpful in breaking people out of a particular pattern that is very
This
destructive.
is
for
like
them.
your discussion about
Yeah.
losing them for addiction. I think you were.
Depression and things, yes, depression is one of the things he talks
Depression is
about.
one is that
Yeah.
it's getting a lot of play, but the
Yeah.
question is,
Other mental
Yeah.
illnesses.
is it, the question is somehow how do these psychedelics open up the mind in a way that you can now see
The
things?
consciousness, yeah.
Yeah,
Your
he does,
consciousness
I don't think, I haven't
And
finished
by
the
the
book.
way, Christopher is not promoting that.
No.
No, I'm not
I'm
promoting that at
suggesting-
all.
I'm not
I would
suggesting-
never do it. I mean, I just don't trust my own mind. I just want to be in control of my,
Yeah.
I just would not do that.
Yeah.
I don't have that
The
kind
good
of,
thing is it does end eventually, so.
Yeah.
Start on a trip.
and if somebody's looking over you, I mean, I've known people who nearly walked off a cliff because they were taking LSD, and it wasn't until people were shouting for them that they turned around. This was at Machu Picchu.
Oh my
Who was
gosh.
that?
I'm not gonna say who it was,
Oh,
honey, but somebody we know. It's someone we know quite well. And don't you shout out any names. All right. All right, okay. So you got all your stuff with Vajrasattva on the top, okay?
We got Bodhisattva's with us.
All of your entire continuum. As you recite the mantra, visualize the purifying light from Vajrasattva moving through your body from the bottom up, and everybody else's too, from the bottom up. But just focus on yours.
Right.
As this occurs, imagine that the negative karmic seeds or imprints from each of the 10 negative actions that we're going to talk about is getting burned and destroyed. So you imagine this white light that's going up through your body. You can imagine the rest of your body is kind of dark and murky. And as the light hits the dark and murky part, there's like, and so it's destroying, it's burning this particular negative karma that we'll be focusing on. The white light itself, as the white light comes up, it's imprinting the positive, the opposite qualities of the negative one. So you have a dual thing going on here with each of these negative positive actions. You're burning the negative ones and you're imprinting new positive ones. And this is what we want to familiarize ourselves with. This is a meditation in order for us to familiarize ourselves with what these 10 positive actions and negative actions were the foundational teaching, I would say, the foundational practice that the Buddha gave. It is the first practice Nagarjuna mentions in what is this called?
I don't have my notes. Yeah, that.
What we're studying is the first practice that
fundamental.
Yeah.
no, it's not fundamental wisdom, but the middle way. Precious Garland. Oh my goodness. Yes, precious Garland. It is the first practice he mentions, which is why I went through all of this to get us to this point, so we could actually practice it rather than just read about it and have it go in and out one ear and the other.
Right, you're doing.
Yeah, so that we can do this. So as you go through each of these positive actions, burning the negative ones and the positive ones are being imprinted, we are practicing, we are familiarizing ourselves with imprinting our continuum with these very positive qualities and burning and going, this other thing, I don't want to continue this. I want to burn it. I want to get rid of it. It's not helpful. As we do it more and more over time, we will actually change. The way we behave will change. The way we speak will change. The way we think will actually change. So this is the beauty of this practice. And why it is a fundamental practice is that we will never, ever, ever realize emptiness when our mind is disturbed by negative emotions. It's impossible for it to happen. We may come close, but it won't occur in the way that the Buddhism is saying it will. And it won't have the effect. We need to remove these disturbing emotions from our mind in order to be successful in our ongoing studies and meditations. That's the purpose. That's why it is fundamental. Okay. At the same time, the opposing positive actions are being imprinted onto your purified mental continuum by the white light. This process continues until the white light and positive karma imprints fill your entire body all the way to the crown of your head. Let me see what time it is here. I will not go through, we won't go through this, but I will.
Finish the prayer. The Bodhisattva mantra?
The Vajrasattva mantra, we'll go through one of these and using the Vajrasattva mantra, okay? You can put the mantra back up.
Okay, I'm just saying, did you ever?
We're getting to that point. We're getting to the process. But what I was describing is what we're going to be doing, visualizing what's occurring as the white light goes up, okay?
Okay, thanks.
All right.
So do you want it now?
You can put it up, but no, don't do it just yet, okay? Don't do it just yet. So for each of the following 10 negative actions and their opposing positive actions, we recite one round of the Vajrasattva mantra accompanied by the visualization that I just talked about. So I've simplified these greatly so that it's easy to remember in our head. So there are 3 of body, and here are the 2. Here's the negative one. I will not kill, I will protect life. Those are the 2 things to keep in mind as you recite the Vajrasattva mantra. So as you're thinking, I will not kill, and the white light is going up, you're thinking this idea of killing is getting burned. I won't do it. I won't do it. I will not kill. I will not kill. No matter who. I will not kill. At the same time as the white light is filling you up, you imagine that imprinting onto the white light, onto your continuum is, I will protect life. I will protect life. I will protect life. So what you're doing is Om Benzasata Sanaya Manopaliya Benzasata. And as you're saying the mantra, you're thinking, I will not kill. That's being burned. And as the white light is going up, it's making imprints of I will protect life. I will protect life. I will protect life. So the killing thing is burned, and you have imprinted your continuum with I will protect life. It is familiarizing yourself with a concept and repeating it. Practicing it, like getting the ball in the hoop. I will protect life. I will not kill. You're burning out that I will not kill. The next one is I will not steal. I will be generous. I will not steal. That gets burned. I will be generous. You're filling up with white light. I will be generous as you're reciting the mantra. The next one is I will not be sexually harmful. I will be sexually harmless. It's pretty basic. And so you just, anything that's sexually harmful either to yourself or someone else, you're just burning it. I'm not going to do this again. I'm not going to be sexually harmful. And at the same time, I will be sexually harmless. You can do whatever you want with your sex as long as it's harmless.
Right.
It's basically, we're not making judgments here, but just I will be sexually harmless. Then we go to 4 of speech. I will not lie. I will be truthful. You're burning the lying, you're imprinting the truthful. I will not use divisive speech. I will use agreeable speech. Burn the divisive speech, imprint the agreeable speech. I will not use harsh words. I will use encouraging words. I will not speak idly. I will speak mindfully. So, I'm not going to chatter incessantly about things that people don't even care about. Burn it, burn it, burn it. I'm not going to do it, burn it. But at the same time, I'm going to speak mindfully. I'm going to be, I'm going to think before the words come out of my mouth. I'm going to speak mindfully. And then Then there were 3 of mind. I will not covet jealously. In other words, you won't look at a particular quality or attribute somebody has, or the fortunate circumstances they're in, or things they possess, and covet them in a jealous way that makes you sort of think badly of the person. We do this. It's like sick, right? You're burning that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give that up. Burn, 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 burn. And then what you're going to replace it with is, I will delight in others' good fortune. I will just take delight in it. Fill that up and print that all on the white, 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 white. I'm going to delight in this. It's a practice. It's familiarizing yourself with a way of thinking and a way of acting. So now we go to the next of the mind, 9. I will not intend harm. I will always intend benefit. Just take it out of the thought, even the thought that I'm going to harm anything. Just get rid of it and keep that thought that I'm always going to intend to be of benefit. Have that imprinted onto the white light. And then the 10th one is, I will not hold wrong views of inherent existence. I will hold correct views of emptiness. And this is, they say, actually, this is the most important one. So, you're going, all right, I will not think things independently self-existent, which is what inherent existence means. I'm just going to let go of that idea that anything can exist independently in any way whatsoever. And I'm going to think everything continually arises dependently and is constantly doing that, constantly shifting and changing. That's what emptiness is. You cannot grab the essence of anything because it's continually arising dependently in ways that we can't even see. We don't see it happening to something like this, but we know over time something occurred.
Right, the sleeve is gonna get damaged, whatever.
It's continually,
Over time it shifts.
continually shifting, as is everything, including our consciousness, which is why this idea of practicing and habituating ourselves to certain ways of thinking and behaving and speaking is very important. So that's basically what we'll do. You can put the mantra up, and we'll just do one of these, just as a practice. We'll just do the first one. I will not kill. I will protect life.
Wait a minute, I'm putting the Vajrasattva.
Vajrasattva mantra up so that people can see it, so that we can recite it. But at the same time, imagine what I've been talking about.
Right.
I will not kill. All that killing thing is getting burned. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. This is not happening again. Right?
Yeah.
And as the white light is filling up your body, think, I will protect life. Whenever I can, whenever I see the opportunity, I will protect life. This will change the way, you behave. All right, so have those thoughts. I will not kill. I will not protect life.
I will protect life.
I will protect life. I will not kill. I will protect life. Or you could say, I will save life. But I like protect life because it implies saving. And I'm trying to keep it simple. I will not kill. I will protect life. So as we recite this mantra, just imagine this idea of what I've been talking about. It will take a little time for us to
we have to practice.
Get into it. We have to practice it. Okay. So just imagine, I will not kill. I will protect life. I will not kill. The black's getting burned. I will protect life. The white imprints. Okay. Om Benza Sato Samaya. Manupalaya Benza Sato. Tenopetika Drido Mebawa. Sutu Kyoyo Mebawa. Anuroko Mebawa. Anurato Mebawa. Sawa Siddhi Metrayasa Sarakama Sutta Me Sitam Shriram Kuru Ha 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 ho Bhagavana Savatata Gata Benza Mame Muja Benza Bhava Samaya Sato Ala Pe. Now you can see why it is important to memorize this.
Yeah.
So that you can sort of say it by rote.
Right. And then visualize.
And then be visualizing that. But
Right.
this is how you would use Vajrasattva, and it's pretty powerful when you understand what Vajrasattva is talking about. It's our own.
This is a way.
It's a way. This is one way. There are other ways, but this is a way which Venerable Rabina talked about. And so I thought, good. I'm going to use that.
Yeah.
And go with it. And if we get ourselves familiar with it. Because I have done this a few times, and I sense the energetic effect of it. I can sense that it's happening. It's making a difference.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to go through that practice. This is basically the centerpiece of the 7-limb practice. And now we'll just quickly go through the remainder of them. When you're done with the 10 rounds of the mantra, gone through the 10 negative actions and the 10 positive actions, the Vajrasattva's obviously, they all go back to the heart of the Buddha. They don't just stay there on the crown of your head.
Right.
All right, so now we go to the last 4 limbs of the 7-limb prayer. The 4th line of the prayer is, I rejoice in the merits of all holy and ordinary beings.
Mhm.
So this is the limb of rejoicing. We rejoice over our own virtue, the fact that, look what we've got. We've landed with a precious human rebirth. We must have done something good in a previous life. We're interested in the Dharma. This is all something to just rejoice about.
Right.
Not think I'm a schmuck. I've done something right. So rejoice about that, and then find ways to rejoice in others' good qualities. If you can't find a thing you like about somebody, you can at least rejoice in the fact that they have Buddha nature and they have the ability to change just like you and I do.
Right.
And that is something to rejoice about. And surprisingly, over time, if you do this, it's going to change the way you view that person you can't stand.
Mhm.
You're going to think differently about them. And that's the point. We're cleaning up our mind. We're cleaning up our view.
Right.
Remember, pure vision, pure world. As we purify our vision, the world that appears to us will also purify.
Mhm.
All right, so the next line of the prayer is line 5. Please remain until samsara ends. In the next limb, we petition all of the beings that are in the merit field to stay until cyclic existence ends, which could be for a long, long time.
Longer.
Imagine your entire being, all of you, make this earnest request for the benefit and joy of all beings, and that the beings in the merit field consent to stay until cyclic existence is no more.
Mhm.
Which could mean they'll be there infinitely, which is
Wow.
okay. When you request your gurus to live long and remain with you in this way, it purifies the negativities caused by disturbing their minds. Sometimes we maybe inadvertently can disturb our teachers' minds by something we do or say. It has occurred to me, I didn't even know that I was doing it, but man, did the mind get disturbed of this teacher. And, we want to be able to purify that. And I think I have. The 6th line of the prayer is turn the wheel. We ask them to turn the wheel of Dharma for sentient beings.
Mhm.
We're asking our gurus and all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to continue to teach and transmit the Dharma until all sentient beings have attained complete alignment. So may the Dharma never die, in other
Right.
words. May it not, and it could, oh man, could it ever? It could get totally lost. What we have today going on is incredible, but all of that could change.
Mhm. And keep it alive.
Yeah, so and the last line of the prayer is, I dedicate the merit created by myself and others to the great enlightenment. In the last line of the 7-limb prayer, we dedicate whatever virtues have taken root in us through these practices so that they will not run out. And so we dedicate to the beings in the merit field, we dedicate all of this merit that we have, any merit that we've accomplished through this practice. And we dedicate the merit of anybody else who has done this process to the merit field, sort of for safekeeping. They say it's like this good positive potential will never die if you merge it with the positive potential of Buddhas and enlightened beings and highly realized beings. It's sort of like a drop of water going into the ocean, and it stays there until the ocean is no longer there.
Mhm.
The drop of water just mixes, and it's sort of like putting it in the bank,
Right.
safeguarding it, protecting it. You're growing your merit. It's how you use the merit field.
Mhm.
All right, the next thing we do, and this is just about over, we offer the world mandala, which is what we do at the beginning, Saji Proti, Chikshi, that one. And we imagine a purified universe where everything is purified and functioning in a perfectly balanced system of wholesome interdependence, not psychotic interdependence. The world mandala, it melts into light, and it dissolves into the heart of the Buddha, as we say, Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryatayami. Then all the beings from your present life and past life, they dissolve into light, they go into the heart of the Buddha, as well as all of the clouds from the merit field, they all go back into the heart of the Buddha. And then it's just you standing in the grass and the Buddha in front of you.
And then does he?
The Buddha then does come to the crown of your head, but you do say a little prayer, and I'll say this. And you imagine that the Buddha is the embodiment of your guru, your root guru. So if your guru is Geshe Nima, you're seeing the Buddha, but you're also seeing Geshe Nima is there. You know, if it's Venerable Robina, you're seeing the guru, but Venerable Robina is there. You know, as you're saying this, and this is the prayer you say, and this is in the in the study guide. I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Please bless my mind stream. May all wrong thoughts which hinder progress on the path to enlightenment cease and not generate further in the mind streams of myself and others. May we easily develop in our mind streams every sort of right thought that helps us progress on the path. Please bless us all so that all of our internal and external hindrances to realizations on the path are completely pacified. And then you make this request personally to the Buddha Guru in front of you. Magnificent, precious root Guru, please stay in the lotus of my heart, care for me with great compassion, and bestow the means for realizations of body, speech, and mind. So the light comes from Buddha Shakyamuni, it purifies you so that your body then becomes like clear light. Your whole body is like clear light. You feel that all your external and internal obstacles in this life and your past lives have been pacified. The Buddha becomes smaller and smaller, comes to the crown of your head, facing in the same direction as you, enters into you at your crown. The Buddha, who is one with your root guru, descends to your heart, again, where there's an open lotus of light, and he sits upon it. The lotus closes and holds the Guru Buddha very securely within its light. This practice actually comes from Geshe Nima. You hold and keep within you always these purifying practices of the Buddha in the form of your spiritual guru seated within the lotus at your heart. And then at this point, you would again briefly meditate on the meaning of emptiness, the meaning being that nothing exists independently. Everything continually, dependently arises due to causes and conditions, and is in no way at all independent. And that's probably the simplest meditation you could do on emptiness as you think of this. But it's important at the end of these is to think again about emptiness and the meaning of emptiness. And that's that. So now we can do our any questions before we, or comments or anything. We're 12:31, so time to go. We'll do the final dedication. Yeah, since we're past, let's just do the final dedication prayers. We've talked a lot about bodhicitta and emptiness, so and let's go ahead and read it in English. In all my lives, may I not be separated from true lamas, and so enjoy the splendor of Dharma. Fully perfecting the virtues and levels and paths, may I speedily attain the state of Vajradhara. And who is Vajradhara? Primordial Buddha, gold star. You know, for years, I'm honestly, for years, I didn't know who I was talking about there when I would say Vajradhara. So a testament to having to teach something is you have to learn about it.
Right, exactly.
And you can find out what the guy looks like, so he's blue.
He's blue.
Okay.
Thank you, Christopher, so much.
Thank you.
So in this, meditation today with the merit field, I noticed you mentioned all these, learned individuals and the compassion and the wisdom way, but you didn't mention Chenrezig or Manjushri.
Chenrezig, basically, they're They
Yeah,
all,
like
everything
right
comes
now.
out of Buddha, right?
Well, so do they, yes.
Right, so they're in the heart of Buddha.
But in the other refuge, they
Right,
are.
in the other refuge, we're relying on the qualities Chenrezig represents, the qualities Manjushri represents. And the,
They're
sitting in one of the
implied,
seats.
although I don't believe they're actually.
I don't know if you actually see them,
pictured,
but they could be
but
there,
it's the wisdom wing and the compassion.
but they're definitely
Right.
implied there, the energy, the qualities, whatever, it's all
Right,
implied.
And the wisdom and
And if you want to, you can just say they're in the heart of the Buddha,
You
just
should
like
try to
everything else is.
confuse us.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to confuse. The point,
You
the
just
point of
suddenly
the first,
drop them like a hot potato.
No, no.
I could have put them there, but I don't see them there, so I'm going, just
Right.
they're in the heart, you know?
Yeah,
But the point in the beginning is that to understand what the qualities of this compassion is, the four immeasurables, and then holding,
Gotcha.
holding with love and compassion and wanting to transmit this immeasurable joy and having this equanimity, it really helps to have these,
That visual.
the visual that goes with it. Same with Manjushri, cutting the dualism, with this
Mhm.
fire and the sword, burning it. And then this attachment to this, your continuum of consciousness, your clear light mind, which can grow and develop into this beautiful enlightened being. And we're doing this with the Shuddha Manjushri by understanding the emptiness teachings.
right,
And so those are very important to understand,
right.
and to develop a relationship with them and their qualities. This is something that was not done when we first were introduced to this particular visualization, which was taken directly out of Liberation in the Palm of the Hand. And all of the beings on the merit field, to me, felt very distant.
Right.
Like I didn't feel connected to them. I go, all right, well, they used Maitreya for the compassion wing. They used
Right.
Manjushri, but I felt no connection. They used Vajradhara, I had no idea, no connection. They were
Right.
sort of hidden behind the Buddha. So the idea is to make us feel very connected with that refuge visualization.
Right.
And that's why I was doing that.
To get to know them.
Yeah, getting to know them. All right. Getting to know all about them. All right. We're gonna say goodbye,
Good
folks.
job, everybody.
Thank you. Good seeing you all. Good seeing you, Arthur.
Looks like maybe Eleanor's.
Take it easy, everyone.
Bye.
Okay, I will stop the
So-
recording.
I heard from this